So Kanye is surrounded by some of the biggest and most dangerous ops in Hollywood because they seem to always be trying to take him out. This has been happening for years now, but it looks like his ops recently started putting their backs into it, trying to take him out, because not only have they gotten him under indirect conservatorship, but some new allegations just came out to reveal that these powerful people have allegedly gotten Kanye hooked on some serious, dangerous substances as a way to keep them under their control. So what substances exactly is Kanye hooked on, and how did they get him on these substances? And is his wife Bianca really working with his ops to ruin Kanye's life and take him out? Let's break it all the way down. So it looks like Kanye's ops are some of the strongest and most determined people in the world, because they have tried so many ways to take Kanye down, but they have all failed until now. See, Kanye has been spilling a lot of tea on some of the darkest parts of the industry for a while now, and y'all know that these powerful people do not like it when people speak on them. Just take a look at Monique and how she got blackballed because she chose not to keep her mouth shut. But anyways, like I said, they tried so many ways to take Kanye down, like how they painted him as crazy in 2022 when he tried to expose some of the craziest things in the industry. They set him up to look anti-Semitic as a way to get him canceled. It also helped that Kanye didn't know when to keep his mouth shut, and he kept talking in a way that made him look anti-Semitic. But the plan to get Kanye canceled didn't quite work, because Kanye has a die-hard fan base who will support him through thick and thin, no matter what or how bad it gets. So the plan to get Kanye canceled just didn't work. The next thing we knew, he disappeared for a few weeks, popped up married to a new woman, Bianca, and started dressing weird, well, weirder than he used to. And the whole thing just didn't seem to add up. But Kanye has always been known for being sorta weird, so we didn't think that anything was wrong. Well, fast forward to a couple of days ago when Kanye's former chief of staff, Milo, made some shocking claims about Kanye's dentist, Thomas P. Conley, and how Thomas allegedly got Kanye hooked on nitrous oxide, aka laughing gas. You know, the good stuff they give you at the dentist. But anyways, Milo didn't initially post about this drama on social media because he did the right thing by submitting an affidavit to the California Dental Board. He eventually decided to post about the case on social media. Taking it to Twitter, he wrote, "There is a reason Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, is no longer capable of successfully releasing music or clothing. In fact, there are several reasons, but the most serious and the most recent is his dentist, Thomas Conley. Conley got Ye hooked on nitrous laughing gas. It is my belief that Conley sought to diminish Ye's mental faculties so that Conley and his business associates could extract millions of dollars from him. Earlier this year, I uncovered the fraud and intervened. Ye, hooked on nitrous, blew up our relationship on purpose by proposing something he knew I'd have to resign over because I had told him so. The resurrection of his long-time idol fantasy of making adult movies." Now, before we proceed to the rest of Milo's statement, there was something we need to discuss. A couple of months ago, he was reported that Kanye and his wife, Bianca, planned to start a company that produced adult films. Now, at the time, people thought that it was just Kanye being Kanye. Looking back, though, it didn't make a lot of sense. Kanye has opened up about his past addiction to adult movies and how it almost ruined his life. He has talked about it multiple times in the past, like when he tweeted, "The use of P destroyed my family, but Jesus will heal everything. Remove any and all forms of P from Twitter and every platform. P is the product of pedophilia. When grown men look at P, they are watching someone else's daughter relive trauma for money." So if he was so against it, why would he want to start a company to produce that? It doesn't make any sense. And looking back now, it looks like Kanye was under some control of some very powerful people, and he wasn't in full control of his own faculties when he wanted to start that company. And from the look of things, it looks like his dentist, Thomas Conley, might have allegedly been in on the whole thing. Kinda suspicious, right? But anyways, back to Milo's statement on Twitter. He also claimed that Kanye is not the only celeb that has been victimized by that dentist, because he claimed that Thomas allegedly preys on black celebrities. He said, Thomas Conley is a dangerous predator who targets African-American celebrities, into whose mouth he puts fake diamonds, as I suspect he did to Lil Yachty. He must be stopped. I filed a complaint with the California Dental Board last week to that end. And just so y'all know, Milo means business, and he's standing on it. He also posted the affidavit that he had submitted to the California Dental Board. But before we talk about that, I have to admit that it's kind of nice to see that Kanye has somebody in his corner who seems to really be be for him and genuinely looking out. It sometimes seems like everyone around him is trying to take advantage of him because he's rich and famous and all that. And from the look of it, the ops around Kanye knew that Milo wasn't with the BS, and this might be why they got into Kanye's ear about Milo, manipulating Kanye into trying to start an adult movie company, which he knew that Milo was against, which caused Milo to quit, allegedly. Now let's get back to Milo's affidavit because it's shocking. He said, the affidavit pertains to actions of his which include the unlawful supply of enormous quantities of nitrous gas to a wealthy, famous patient for explicitly recreational use, charging more than $50,000 per month for this service, continuing to supply the gas long after the emergence of distressing symptoms that led to widespread comment and concern. He claimed that when he assumed his role as Kanye's chief of staff in January, he discovered that people in Kanye's circle had been stealing from him. He didn't go into detail about who the people were that were stealing from Kanye, but he did mention that they were robbing him blind. And this was made easier by the fact that Kanye was allegedly always getting high, all thanks to his dentist, Thomas. Milo's affidavit went on to say, it was around that time that one of the junior staff confessed he had seen Connolly hauling 4 large surgical tanks of nitrous oxide into Bianca Sensory's apartment, and that something had told him to take a couple of photographs. As many as 5 Yeezy employees are said to have been sufficiently worried as to have taken photographs of the home nitrous installation. When challenged, Connolly admitted he had taken the canisters to Ye's home, but instead, absurdly, they were empty and had always been empty. It also said, a long-standing vendor told me in apparent amazement how casually Connolly talked about putting Ye under, understanding him to mean full anesthesia for no apparent medical purpose, as though it were a normal part of everyday life. A bill was received and paid for over $61,000 by Yeezy solely for anesthesia and nitrous gas. Milo then hinted that Kanye might actually not be bipolar, as has been commonly reported, hinting that it could have been as a result of his substance use. He wrote, the symptoms of Ye's widely reported bipolar diagnosis and the side effects of prolonged nitrous gas are strikingly similar. Long-term nitrous produces erratic behavior, mood swings, paranoia, and I was told over the telephone by a Yeezy employee who wishes to remain anonymous that they directly witnessed Ye self-administering the nitrous gas provided by Connolly. The employee was not able to say if a regulator was being used or what proportion of oxygen, if any, was being added. But if you think that that's bad, well, it gets worse, because Milo revealed that Thomas had moved into Kanye's apartment building, which kind of sends really big red flags waving in the air, because why on earth would a dentist need to live in the same building with his patient? Yeah, the math isn't mathing, and it sounds like addiction. I mean, if that's not crazy enough, Milo claimed that Thomas made Kanye pay his rent in the apartment building, and he made him pay 6 months' rent in advance. Say what? The affidavit also said, most disturbingly of all, I learned that Connolly had moved into the apartment building Ye resided at during this period, at Ye's expense. I was asked by Ye to negotiate a second apartment at the same complex, which he said would be used as a studio. Before I had completed these negotiations, a pending charge on Ye's American Express card showed that 6 months' rent had been paid in advance to the building management company. When I challenged Connolly to explain this, he claimed to be moving in at his own expense. He also claimed that Thomas has allegedly been taking advantage of Kanye's fragile mental health for his own selfish purposes. He wrote, given Connolly's familiarity with rap and hip-hop music stars, many of whom have been clients in the past, there can be no doubt that he was aware of Ye's psychological vulnerabilities. I believe he sought to exploit them and to have acted with sinister purpose against a celebrity whose mental health struggles have not only been the subject of blanket media coverage for a decade or more, but which were the subject of his 2018 album, Ye, upon whose cover appears the phrase, I hate being bipolar. It's awesome. And y'all, it's not just a couple of $100s we're talking about, because Milo claimed that Kanye had paid Thomas hundreds of thousands of dollars, saying payment records from Yeezy LLC show hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments to Connolly, such as $250,000 on January 7, 2024, marked dental work, followed by another $61,040 2 weeks later on January 29, 2024, also marked dental work. These are merely 2 of many payments. Y'all, this is a lot, but it does look like Thomas could have allegedly targeted Kanye because Kanye has spoken about it in the past and how much he enjoys nitrous oxide.
Ryan Garcia, this Yay, I'm on the nitrous.
And I was at the dentist's office the other day. I was taking a nitrous oxide. I suggested if anybody might stress out.
A couple of years ago, he also posted a story on Instagram that said, "I'ma do a free commercial for nitrous oxide." There's also this interview in 2015 where he spoke about it, saying, "One time I was at the dentist's office and I was given nitrous oxide and I was vibing out. I guess that's my version of Steve Jobs on his LSD trip. When I had this first thought, what is the meaning of life? And then I thought to give. What's the key to happiness? Happiness. What do you want in life? When you give someone something, should they give you something in return? No. We don't have to expect to be compensated by a person we give to. Just give." So it has been well documented by Kanye himself that he loves him some nitrous oxide. And it would have been easy for anyone to capitalize on that to get it to him, especially in a vulnerable time when the industry came close to getting him canceled. And get this, it's not the first time that Kanye has had struggles with substances, because his former trainer Harley Pasternak used to dope Kanye up without his consent. This is a theory on social media that Harley works as a handler for some powerful people in Hollywood to keep celebrities in check, because it doesn't make sense how he's so powerful to the point where he, a trainer, feels comfortable enough to threaten a celebrity. Like, make it make sense. In 2022, when Kanye was accused of being anti-Semitic, he shared a tweet that he had gotten from Harley, where Harley was threatening to institutionalize him. Harley said, "I'm going to help you one of a couple ways. First, you and I sit down, have a loving and open conversation, but you don't use cuss words, and everything that is discussed is based on fact and not some crazy stuff that a dumb friend of yours told you or you saw in a tweet. Second option, I have you institutionalized again, where they medicate the crap out of you and you go back to zombie land forever. Playdate with the kids just won't be the same." Even more interesting, when Kanye was put on psychiatric hold back in 2016 and taken to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation because he had suddenly started acting erratically, he was in the Harley's home, and this has led people to believe that Harley could have been giving Kanye a substance. In the text that Kanye shared, Harley said he was going to have Kanye institutionalized again, which suggests that he had already had him institutionalized at least once. The story gets even more sinister when you realize that Harley is not just your average trainer, because he has also been involved with research into mind control and military-grade psychological experimentations.
He also used to work for the Department of National Defense, the Canadian government, and was employed by a military facility that conducts research into different psychological operations for the purpose of influencing human behavior.
So yeah, there's a lot going on, and at this point it's starting to look like there is an entire conspiracy of people who have just been trying to take Kanye out or get him under control for a long time. But things started heating up after the anti-Semitic drama in 2022, when they found out that it was going to be next to impossible to get Kanye canceled because of his extremely strong fan base. They allegedly started to make plans to get Kanye under control one last time, and Kanye knew this because just before he disappeared, he claimed that he was going to war with some very powerful people.
I'm going to war. You know, I don't have endless resources. I only have like maybe, honestly, only maybe $120 million in my account. But what I'm not gonna let happen is I'm not gonna let my kids take over Yeezy someday and have a boardroom telling them what to do and talking behind their back.
Well, the next thing we knew, Kanye disappeared and then popped up married to Bianca. Now, for the longest time, everybody thought Bianca was sweet, innocent. She was just some woman under Kanye's control, and that he forced her to do nasty things, including her weird dressing in public. But when we found out that Bianca wasn't exactly innocent because she grew up in a mob family herself, according to reports, she comes from one of the most notorious mob families in Australia. The reports say Bianca's father, Elia Leo Sensory, did hard jail time after being convicted in 1982 on a charge of possessing prohibited import substance and sentenced to 5 years with a minimum of 3. Her uncle, Eris Sensory, is a notorious gangland. once dubbed Melbourne's Al Capone. Eris was sentenced to death in Western Australia for a but the sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment. Her oldest brother, Edmondo, known as Eddie Capone, has convictions in Victoria for violence, including assaulting police, theft, and threats. But y'all, there's more, because there are some allegations that she allegedly works for the same people who were trying to take Kanye out. Allegedly, this kind of thing adds up when you realize that Kanye recently gave her the power of attorney over everything, pretty much, that he owns. According to reports, with the negative press surrounding him, Kanye is in need of a career revamp, and it seems his wife is going to be the one to do it. The U.S. Sun allegedly obtained documents that showed that Bianca was given special power of attorney over one of his properties back in March. The difference between the power of attorney and special power of attorney is that the latter limits decision-making to specific circumstances. It continued, it is claimed she's been given control over his house in Hidden Hills, the same property that Kanye brought directly across the street from his ex-wife Kim Kardashian. A source also claimed to the U.S. Sun that Bianca is planning on taking the reins on Kanye's business, so this might just be the beginning. Yeah, this isn't making a lot of sense, because why on earth would Kanye need someone to have power of attorney over him, especially because he has always made it more than clear that he wants his children to inherit Yeezy from him when they're grown up. But math isn't mathing, y'all, and there are a lot of things about the situation that don't make sense, but when you add up the pieces of the puzzle together, well, then the math starts adding up. Kanye is addicted to nitrous oxide and is out of it most of the time, which is the perfect setup for her to take over everything he has. For those who don't know, misuse of nitrous oxide almost always leads to brain damage, in extreme cases death. Reminds me of what happened to Michael Jackson. And in his affidavit, Milo claimed that Kanye might be exhibiting symptoms of brain damage. And y'all know what happens in cases like this, because we've seen it play out, like with Wendy Williams. He gets forced into a conservatorship, but there's going to be no need for the court to assign power of attorney because Bianca already has it. And I'm not gonna lie, the things don't look good for Kanye right now, and something needs to be done ASAP, because this is kind of frightening. He's a legend. Fans commented, of course, saying, whether this is true or not, something ain't right with Kanye, and it's starting to feel like his story will end tragically. Very sad to see. Dentist is probably another handler like Harley sentenced to date Ye for talking too much. If this is true, then it explains why this man, who used to release perfect album after perfect album in the 2000s and 2010s, now only releases unfinished garbage music that can barely be called music. But this person thinks that this is all BS and tweeted, Kanye West is a grown man. His dentist supplies it because he asked for it. Y'all need to stop acting like this dude ain't 47 and capable of making his own decisions. Y'all, this situation is scary and a big old mess, but I need to know what y'all feel about it. Drop your thoughts and comments below, and then check out this next video.